Hello, dreamers and wanderers. Tonight, we journey to a place whispered about in myths, a city swallowed by the insatiable embrace of the ocean. Imagine a civilization far more advanced than our own, thriving beneath turquoise waves, their crystalline towers piercing the liquid sky. They say the Atlanteans harnessed the very energy of the earth, a power so profound it both built their utopia and sealed their fate. But few know the true reason behind their fall. Settle in, let your mind drift. Tell us in the comments when you're listening to this story and what one-day world you want next. For now, let's descend into the enigmatic heart of Atlantis. The ocean's breath was a gentle hum this morning, a rhythmic pulse against the shimmering dome of Ethel, the heart of Atlantis. Below the colossal sapphire crystal that captured the sun's first kiss and transformed it into life-giving energy, the city stirred. This was no ordinary dawn. A tangible tension, a cold dread, clung to the ornate coral spires and the bioluminescent pathways, a stark contrast to the usual vibrant serenity. The air, recycled and pure within the grandest of all domes, tasted faintly of ozone, an impending storm, not the usual sea salt and blooming hydro gardens. Today, the Grand Council of Nine convened, an event whispered about with hushed reverence and growing fear. A paradox gripped the Atlantean heart, a city of unparalleled technological marvels and spiritual enlightenment, yet burdened by an unspoken weight, a silent tremor beneath its flawless facade. The very foundation of their existence, the colossal orrery, a marvel of cosmic engineering that charted the stars and channeled telluric currents, pulsed erratically. It was a machine that should have brought stability, yet it now threatened to unravel everything. They were masters of their world, yet slaves to a power they barely understood, a power that held both creation and destruction in its intricate design. Why, in this zenith of civilization, did the shadows lengthen so ominously? Elder Theron, his eyes the color of ancient sea glass, felt the thrumming beneath his feet, a low, guttural vibration that echoed deep within the city's core. It wasn't the usual comforting resonance of the crystal conduits. This was a discordant note, a growing disharmony. For generations, the Atlanteans had lived in splendid isolation. Their advanced understanding of energy manipulation, protecting them from the surface world and its chaotic ebb and flow. Their cities, a symphony of crystal and living coral, pulsed with harnessed geothermal power, refined through the intricate networks of the orrery. This morning, however, the seamless flow of power felt strained. Lights flickered in the lower districts, an unheard-of occurrence. The great, pulsing heart of the city, usually a beacon of steady light, now seemed to gasp for breath. A feeling of disquiet settled over the people, a vague, undefined anxiety, that manifested in hushed conversations and averted gazes. The very air was thick with it, a tangible pressure that pushed down on their spirits. This perfect world, built on harmony and knowledge, felt like a fragile shell. Thera knew the truth was far more unsettling than any surface storm. The orrery, their celestial guide and energy nexus, was failing. But how could a machine of such profound creation, designed for eternal stability, betray them now? The source of the instability was a closely guarded secret, known only to the Grand Council. Whispers had begun weeks ago, faint at first, then growing into an undeniable clamor within the hallowed halls of the Council of Nine. Reports spoke of anomalous energy readings from the deep veins, the geothermal conduits that fed the orrery. These weren't minor fluctuations, they were seismic shifts, erratic surges of raw, untamed power, threatening to overload the delicate balance. The orrery, a magnificent construct of interlocking spheres and glowing pathways, was designed to harmonize these energies, to weave them into a usable, sustainable force. But now it struggled. Its intricate mechanisms, usually silent and precise, emitted faint metallic groans. The city's inhabitants, accustomed to an existence of effortless grace, found themselves increasingly unsettled by the subtle shifts in temperature, the occasional, inexplicable tremors. A society built on perfect equilibrium was now teetering. The initial wonder of their advanced technology was slowly giving way to a gnawing fear that perhaps they had built too well, or perhaps not well enough. The very harmony they cherished was now their greatest vulnerability, a fragile balance on the verge of shattering. Yet the council remained silent, cloaked in ancient protocols and the weight of their profound responsibility. Their stoicism, once a comforting symbol of unwavering leadership, now felt like a barrier, a wall between the truth and the people. The ordinary Atlanteans, with their shimmering robes and serene countenances, continued their daily rituals, unaware of the impending crisis. They believed in the Council's wisdom, in the inherent stability of their world. But beneath the surface of their calm demeanor, questions began to ripple. Why were the crystalline towers resonating with such an unusual frequency? Why did the ocean currents outside the dome seem more turbulent than usual? The paradox deepened. A society of boundless knowledge, yet deliberately kept in the dark about its most pressing danger. This secrecy, a tool once used to maintain order, was now a dangerous wedge, isolating the leaders from the very people they swore to protect. The perfect world they had meticulously crafted was, in fact, built upon a foundation of undisclosed truths, a hidden fault line waiting to fracture. The city's beauty was a captivating illusion, and the illusion was about to break. Centuries ago, the Atlanteans had stumbled upon the Heartstone, a massive sentient crystal buried deep within the Earth's mantle. pulsating with unimaginable power. It wasn't merely a source of energy, it was a living entity, its vibrations echoing the planet's very consciousness. Their ancestors, the great engineers, had initially sought to understand it, to commune with it, but a new generation, ambitious and blinded by potential, saw only its raw power. They built the orrery not just to channel geothermal forces, but to tune the heartstone, to compel it to align with their technological aspirations, to draw from its boundless reserves. This was the pivotal shift, the moment where reverence became exploitation. They had everything: sustainable energy, advanced healing, instantaneous communication across vast distances. But they had lost something fundamental: their respectful connection to the living world around them. The orrery, their greatest achievement, had become a subtle instrument of coercion, bending the heartstone to their will, rather than flowing with its natural rhythm. They were masters, yes, but of a power they did not truly own, a power that now rebelled. The first turning point arrived with the Great Silence, a period 200 years prior, when the heartstone abruptly ceased its resonant hum, plunging the city into a terrifying stasis. All power failed. For 3 agonizing cycles, Atlantis lay dark and cold, its people huddled in fear, their advanced technology useless. The council, then led by the wise elder Lysander, discovered the heartstone was not depleted, but dormant, withdrawn. It had recoiled from the constant, invasive demands of the orrery. Lysander, an empath, had spent weeks in meditation, deep within the earth, communing with the heartstone, begging for its return. He promised a new path, a more harmonious existence. The power eventually returned, but it was a fragile truce. Lysander had understood the danger, but his warnings were subtly undermined by the younger, more technologically driven members of the council. They trusted their machines, their science, more than the ancient wisdom. Lysander had seen the heart of their paradise, but also its creeping sickness, a reliance that bordered on addiction. After Lysander's passing, the subtle exploitation of the heartstone resumed, albeit more cautiously. The orrery was refined, its methods of energy extraction made more efficient. But efficiency in this context meant deeper penetration, more insistent demands on the planet's core. The council justified it as necessary for continued progress, for the grand expansion of their knowledge, for sustaining their population. They spoke of the needs of the many, ignoring the silent scream of the one. They had developed elegant solutions for everything else: vertical farms that fed millions, medical advancements that eradicated disease, architectural wonders that defied gravity. But this core dependency, this subtle violation, was their blind spot. The constant drain, amplified by new energy-intensive technologies, slowly but surely frayed the Heartstone's resilience. It was a slow poison, camouflaged by dazzling progress. The glittering surface of Atlantis belied the growing imbalance beneath, a beautiful lie that promised eternal prosperity while siphoning the very lifeblood of their world. The initial reverence was long forgotten, replaced by a cold, calculated efficiency. The irony was cruel. Their quest for ultimate control led to ultimate vulnerability. They had created a vast network of interlinked cities, all dependent on the Heartstone's energy. If one part of the orrery faltered, the entire network would experience ripples of instability. This dependency, once hailed as a triumph of interconnectedness, was now a colossal single point of failure. The current elder, Theron, carried Lysander's legacy, his warnings a constant echo in his mind. He saw the growing disquiet in the city, the almost imperceptible changes, the slightly cooler water in the hydro tunnels, the dimmer glow of the skylights, the subtle tremors that were becoming more frequent. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that the Heartstone was reaching its breaking point. They had trusted in their technology, in their ability to command nature. But nature, in its infinite wisdom, was now sending its final, desperate warnings. The beautiful facade of Atlantis was beginning to crack, not from an external assault, but from a profound internal wound, a betrayal of the very essence of their existence. The cost of their ambition was about to be paid. The erratic pulses from the deep veins intensified, sending resonant shocks through the crystalline architecture. Beneath the central dome of Ethel, the grand orrery began to hum with an alarming, high-pitched whine, a sound that grated on the Atlantean's sensitive hearing. This was no mere malfunction. It was a shriek of protest. Ancient geological sensors, buried deep within the earth, reported unprecedented thermal fluctuations. The Heartstone, a living nexus of geothermal energy, was not merely withdrawing its power, it was actively resisting, pushing back against the invasive siphoning. It was a titanic struggle, silent to the uninitiated, yet profoundly felt by those attuned to the planet's pulse. The very bedrock beneath Atlantis groaned, a deep, resonant rumble that reverberated through the grand chambers and delicate living spaces. Panic, a raw, unfamiliar emotion, began to ripple through the lower sectors, where the tremors were most keenly felt. The perfect calm of Atlantis was fracturing, replaced by a growing cacophony of fear and uncertainty. Each new tremor chipped away at their long-held belief in their unassailable mastery over nature, revealing the terrifying fragility of their self-made paradise. The illusion of eternal stability was dissolving with every shudder. Reports from the deep-sea patrols, usually serene accounts of ocean life, now spoke of immense, unnatural currents swirling around the base of the city domes, of strange, luminescent fissures opening in the ocean floor. The tectonic plates, normally stable in their controlled region, showed signs of agitation, almost as if the earth itself was convulsing. Elder Theron, in the sterile silence of the council chambers, received these reports with a growing sense of dread. The orrery's control mechanisms, designed for minor adjustments, were now fighting a losing battle against the elemental fury beneath. The automated diagnostic systems, usually flawlessly predictive, displayed incomprehensible data. Lines of code flashing red, indicating critical failures across multiple energy conduits. The grand plan, the intricate dance between technology and nature, was failing spectacularly. Each data point, each new tremor, was a step closer to the precipice. The city, once a testament to human ingenuity, was becoming a cage of its own making, vibrating with the rage of a violated world. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and the undeniable truth of their impending doom. The emotional toll was palpable. The serene, contemplative nature of the Atlanteans gave way to anxiety and short tempers. Arguments erupted in the usually tranquil marketplaces. Children, sensitive to the subtle shifts in energy, cried inexplicably. The intricate tapestries of community, woven over millennia, began to unravel under the strain. Healers, accustomed to mending physical ailments with advanced bioenergy, found themselves overwhelmed by a wave of mental distress, a collective premonition of disaster. The spiritual leaders, who once spoke of cosmic harmony, now struggled to offer comfort, their words hollow against the growing roar of the destabilized orrery. The city, once a haven of peace, was transforming into a cauldron of fear. The shimmering crystal walls, once symbols of protection, now felt like barriers, trapping them with a problem they could not escape. This was the consequence of their hubris, not just a technological failure, but a spiritual one, a profound betrayal of the very essence of life. Meanwhile, the veil of ether, the shimmering energy shield that protected Atlantis from external pressures and concealed it from the surface world, began to waver. It pulsed erratically, its usually seamless surface flickering like a dying candle. This was a critical vulnerability. Not only did it protect them from the crushing depths, but it also masked their existence from the chaotic civilizations above. If the veil failed, the very physical integrity of their domes would be compromised. The pressure from the abyssal currents, immense and unforgiving, would tear through their structures like paper. The Council's most pressing concern, however, was not the physical threat, but the exposure. The thought of their pristine, perfect world being discovered by the barbarians of the surface filled them with terror. The rising tension was no longer merely internal. It was becoming an existential threat from every direction, both from within the earth and from the unknown dangers of the world above. The exquisite isolation they had cultivated was now a fragile bubble on the verge of bursting. Consider Lyra, a young engineer, barely past her initiation, whose family had been instrumental in the initial construction of the orrery. She remembered her grandmother's tales, not of the machine's power, but of the earth's song, the heartstone's natural resonance, a melody that once guided their ancestors. Lyra, assigned to the maintenance of a minor orrery conduit in the outer city of Coralia, noticed something profoundly disturbing. The crystal she was tending, a conduit meant to hum with a gentle blue light, was now throbbing with an angry, deep crimson, almost bleeding energy. It was hot to the touch, vibrating violently. Her diagnostic tools, though advanced, could not explain the anomaly. It wasn't a mechanical fault. It was something far more primal. She recalled her grandmother's final words, whispered on her deathbed. "The earth remembers what we forget." This wasn't merely a breakdown. It was the planet's desperate cry, a living entity pushed past its breaking point. Lyra felt a chill deeper than the ocean's coldest current, a profound realization that her civilization had made a grave, fundamental error. Her personal fate was intertwined with the planet's rage. Lyra's assigned section of the orrery had always been stable, almost boring. Now, however, the entire substructure around the conduit was showing signs of severe stress. Fine hairline fractures spider-webbed across the supporting coral crystal, and iridescent gases, never before seen, began to seep from the cracks. The automated environmental controls, usually silent and efficient, whirred frantically, struggling to contain the anomalous emissions. The air in her small section tasted metallic, sharp, and acrid. Lyra, against protocol, extended a sensory probe deep into the conduit's core, bypassing the automated safeguards. What she found was not merely a surge of energy, but a chaotic, untamed force, like a wild beast thrashing against its restraints. It was a torrent of raw, unrefined planetary power, far beyond what the orrery was designed to handle, or indeed, what it was ever meant to handle. The Earth's song was not a gentle melody anymore. It was a furious roar, a primal scream of rejection. The controlled extraction they had so carefully managed for centuries had become a violent siphoning, a violation that the Earth was now retaliating against with destructive force. Her own hands began to tremble with the energy radiating from the crystal. She tried to send an urgent diagnostic report to the Central Command, to the Council, but her communication link, usually instantaneous, was garbled, crackling with interference. The escalating energy surges were disrupting even the city's robust communication network. Panic began to set in, a cold, hard knot in her stomach. She was witnessing a micro-cataclysm, a localized manifestation of the greater crisis, and her warnings were unheard. The beautiful, glowing conduits that crisscrossed Atlantis, once symbols of their technological prowess, now seemed like veins bulging with fever, on the verge of bursting. This wasn't an abstract problem debated by the council. This was raw, undeniable power, threatening to rip her world apart, right before her eyes. The dream of Atlantis, once a beacon of perfect harmony, was turning into a nightmare of impending destruction. The sheer force of the energy felt like a physical presence, a monstrous entity waking from a long, troubled sleep. Lyra felt an overwhelming sense of isolation. Her advanced training, her reliance on logical data, all seemed utterly meaningless in the face of this raw, elemental fury. The Heartstone was not a resource to be managed. It was a living planet, and it was screaming. This was the true cost of their innovation, the price of their relentless pursuit of power without true understanding. The Grand Engineers had tapped into something sacred, something they had promised to respect, yet their descendants had twisted that promise into a relentless demand. Lyra understood in that terrifying moment that the answer to Atlantis's growing instability wasn't in more technology, but in a profound shift of perspective, a return to the reverence her grandmother had spoken of. But it was too late. The system was too deeply integrated, too dependent. The city's arteries, filled with stolen power, were about to rupture. Her personal understanding, a terrifying revelation, felt like a tiny voice against the roaring tide of impending doom. The fate of Atlantis was now clear, written in the angry glow of the crystals, a tragedy born of a forgotten truth. Back in the heart of Ethel, the Grand Council of Nine was locked in a bitter, desperate debate. The holographic display in their central chamber, usually a serene representation of planetary energy flows, was now a violent canvas of red and orange, pulsing with catastrophic warnings. Elder Theron, his voice heavy with the weight of generations, presented Lyra's garbled, urgent reports, piecing together the fragments that had managed to penetrate the disrupted network. The evidence was irrefutable. The Heartstone was not merely destabilizing, it was actively rejecting the orrery's invasive connection. The system, designed to control, was now being violently expelled. Arguments raged between those who advocated for a desperate, final surge of power to recalibrate the Heartstone, a last desperate act of technological hubris, and those, like Theron, who understood the profound spiritual nature of the crisis. The facts, once scattered and seemingly disconnected, were now converging into a terrifyingly coherent picture. Atlantis had violated a fundamental law of nature. The answer to their plight lay not in more force, but in surrender, a concept alien and terrifying to a civilization built on mastery. The emotional pressure in the chamber was suffocating, the air thick with desperation and denial. A chilling realization dawned upon the most stubborn members of the council. The tremors were not random geological events, but rhythmic pulses, almost like a desperate, accelerating heartbeat. The Heartstone was not just a power source. It was a sentient entity, its agony now manifesting as violent seismic upheaval. The very ground beneath them shuddered with increasing intensity, sending tremors through the city's foundations, cracking the ornate crystal walls. Dust, a foreign element in their pristine environment, began to fall from the vaulted ceilings of the council chambers. The magnificent orrery, visible through the vast observation window, bucked and groaned, its intricate mechanisms tearing themselves apart. It was a visual and auditory symphony of impending collapse, a cacophony of their technological hubris. The ocean outside, once a gentle guardian, now hammered against the thinning veil of ether, its dark currents visible through the flickering energy shield. The pressure was immense, both physical and psychological. The council members, once unflappable, now exchanged terrified glances, their carefully constructed composure dissolving into raw fear. The truth, ugly and undeniable, was closing in, a monstrous wave of consequence. Elder Theron knew their options were dwindling to nothing. A full disengagement from the Heartstone meant plunging Atlantis into immediate, permanent darkness, a societal collapse that would lead to starvation and chaos. Yet, maintaining the connection meant certain destruction as the Earth's own energy tore through the city. The choice was not between survival and destruction, but between a swift, violent end and a prolonged, agonizing one. The weight of millennia of Atlantean civilization rested on his shoulders, a crushing burden. The irony was bitter. Their greatest achievement, the orrery, was also their ultimate undoing. It was a symbiotic relationship gone horribly wrong, a parasite bleeding its host dry. The city's entire infrastructure, its very life support, was inextricably linked to the entity they had abused. This was the unavoidable consequence of their path, a destiny woven into the fabric of their technology. The once celebrated innovation was now a death sentence. There was no escape, no hidden solution, only the stark, terrifying truth of their irreversible mistake. The beautiful dream of Atlantis was poised to become a harrowing nightmare. As the final, desperate arguments faded into the roar of the protesting earth, a massive tremor shook Ethel, far more violent than any before. The central sapphire dome, the magnificent crystalline roof that had sheltered Atlantis for ages, groaned ominously. A blinding flash of pure energy erupted from the orrery, followed by an echoing internal explosion that sent shock waves through the entire city. The veil of ether, their last defense, flickered, then vanished completely. The colossal pressure of the deep ocean, held at bay for centuries, instantly slammed into the city domes with unimaginable force. Water began to pour in, not in trickles, but in torrents, through every crack, every fissure. The end was no longer a theoretical debate. It was a terrifying, physical reality. The once impenetrable walls of Atlantis began to buckle and shatter, succumbing to the crushing embrace of the sea. The answer, though unspoken, was now violently clear. The planet itself was reclaiming what was stolen, destroying the parasite that had fed on its heart. The city was dying, not with a whimper, but with a deafening cataclysmic roar of collapsing crystal and rushing water. The Heartstone's final, powerful expulsion of energy was not an act of malice, but a desperate self-preservation. It recoiled violently from the orrery's intrusive probes, causing a massive sympathetic seismic event across the entire oceanic crust beneath Atlantis. This was the Earth's last defense mechanism, a titanic reflex action. The initial impact had caused a cascade failure, tearing apart the complex array of conduits that tethered Atlantis to the planet's core. The city, once so perfectly balanced, was now adrift, both physically and energetically. Its life support systems, its power grid, its environmental controls, all utterly dependent on the Heartstone's harnessed power, began to fail in quick succession. The beautiful, glowing flora of the hydro gardens withered instantly, starved of the regulated light and nutrients. The recycled air, once pure, became stale and heavy. The intricate pathways, once illuminated, plunged into a suffocating darkness, broken only by the chaotic flashes of dying energy cells. The pre-climax was here, not as a single event, but as a rapid, terrifying unraveling of everything Atlanteans knew as life. The very breath of their world was being stolen, not by an enemy, but by the planet they had wounded. The deeper truth, now starkly visible, was that Atlantis had never truly mastered the Heartstone. They had merely caged it. Their technological prowess, their ability to channel and refine energy, had blinded them to the ethical implications of their actions. The Heartstone was a living, breathing component of the planet, its rhythms intrinsically tied to the Earth's very vitality. By forcing it into unnatural alignment, by continuously demanding beyond its capacity, they had not only drained its energy, but also inflicted a profound existential pain. The catastrophic tremors and surges were not just geological. They were the planet's agonizing screams, its desperate struggle to break free from the parasitic grip of the orrery. This final, violent convulsion was a primal rejection, a desperate surge of self-defense from a violated entity. It was the Earth saying, "No more." The last key element before the truth was unveiled was the confession, unspoken yet undeniable, that they had built their utopia on a foundation of profound disrespect, and the bill for that disrespect had finally come due. In the crumbling council chambers, Elder Theron, with a profound sense of sorrow, understood the true nature of their ancestors' original discovery. They hadn't merely found a power source. They had found the Earth's soul, and then proceeded to put it in chains. The ancient texts, once dismissed as poetic allegories, now revealed their chilling foresight. He who binds the heart of the world shall unleash its fury. The catastrophic failure was not a defect in the orrery's design. It was an inevitable consequence of its very purpose. The machine was designed to dominate, and the Earth, in its infinite power, would not be dominated forever. The last facts, motivations, and emotional confessions converged into a single, terrifying understanding. Atlantis had engineered its own destruction through its relentless pursuit of dominion over nature. Their ambition had not just led to a collapse, it had provoked a planetary rebellion. The world was not breaking, it was fighting back. The air crackled with raw, untamed energy. The dying gasp of a city built on a lie, a final tense breath before the inevitable plunge into oblivion. The mighty crystal domes, once impervious, now groaned under the immense water pressure, their structural integrity compromised beyond repair. Massive cracks spider-webbed across the grand dome of Ethel, allowing colossal streams of water to rip through the city, tearing apart homes, tearing apart lives. The beautiful, intricate architecture dissolved into chaos, a maelstrom of rushing water, debris, and the desperate cries of a once proud people. The city was not merely sinking, it was being consumed, dissolved back into the primal elements from which it had sprung. The light, which had defined Atlantis, was swallowed by the encroaching darkness of the deep ocean, extinguished forever. This was the moment of reckoning, the terrible, beautiful climax of their hubris. All that remained was the agonizing weight, a silent, inevitable descent into the abyss, as the ocean, patient and indifferent, reclaimed its own. The powerful, logical, and deeply human conclusion was about to unfold, not through grand revelation, but through the brutal, unforgiving force of nature. The quiet before the storm had given way to the storm itself, and there was no shelter left. As the final, immense tremor ripped through the planet's crust, the Heartstone, liberated from the orrery's control, unleashed a cataclysmic surge of energy. It was not a destructive blast, but a profound, resonant pulse that tore through the Earth's mantle, manifesting as an unprecedented series of seismic shocks and volcanic eruptions across the ocean floor. The physical manifestation of this planetary release was the tearing open of the abyssal plains directly beneath Atlantis. The city, its domes already shattered and filled with water, could no longer withstand the geological trauma. The very bedrock upon which it had stood for millennia gave way. Atlantis did not merely sink, it was swallowed whole, pulled down into the newly formed chasm, an impossible void opening in the ocean floor. The colossal structures, the intricate crystal, the very essence of their civilization, imploded under the unimaginable pressure and the violent churning of the earth. It was an instant, terrifying oblivion, a complete erasure, leaving no trace behind, but a gaping wound in the ocean's depths. The true cause of its demise was laid bare in this final, violent act of cosmic justice. The Earth had finally, definitively broken free. The answer to the hook. What secret did Atlantis hide that led to its ultimate demise? Was not a hidden weapon or a rival empire, but a profound moral and spiritual failing. Atlantis hid the secret of its parasitic relationship with the living Earth. It concealed its relentless, unethical exploitation of the Heartstone, mistaking mastery for dominion. The Atlanteans believed they could control nature indefinitely, that their advanced technology made them immune to natural laws. They built their magnificent civilization on the subtle, insidious subjugation of a sentient planetary entity, ignoring the ancient warnings and the growing signs of the Earth's agony. This was the fatal flaw, the hubris woven into the very fabric of their utopia. They chose power over reverence, control over harmony, and in doing so, they sealed their own fate. The Earth, in its final desperate act of self-preservation, reclaimed its heart, and in doing so, erased the civilization that had dared to bind it. Their secret was not something external, but a cancerous internal wound, a betrayal of the planet they called home. The final moments were a terrifying symphony of collapse, a chorus of tearing crystal and roaring water, instantly silenced by the crushing embrace of the deep. The light of Atlantis, once so brilliant, was snuffed out, leaving only the eternal darkness of the abyssal plains. What truly sank Atlantis was not a singular event, but the cumulative weight of centuries of spiritual imbalance, a slow, deliberate poisoning of their own source of life. They were blinded by the dazzling light of their own inventions, deafened by the hum of their own progress to the silent suffering of the world beneath them. The city was not destroyed by an external enemy, nor by an unforeseen cataclysm, but by the relentless consequence of its own choices. It was a self-inflicted wound, a slow, agonizing suicide masquerading as progress. The echoes of its final, desperate struggle now lie in the silent depths, a chilling testament to the dangers of unchecked ambition and forgotten reverence. And so Atlantis vanished, not in a single sudden cataclysm, but as the final, violent culmination of a profound, generational betrayal. The true secret of its demise was the forgotten reverence for the living planet, sacrificed at the altar of endless technological ambition. The ocean merely became its tomb, a silent witness to a civilization that forgot how to listen to the Earth's heart. Their legacy is not one of grandeur, but a haunting whisper of the price of hubris. A profound silence now rests where a city once thrived, a stark reminder that some powers are never meant to be fully controlled, only revered. And sometimes the Earth remembers what we forget. With a fury that reshapes worlds, the deep ocean holds its secrets well, But the planet always reclaims its own. The silence that follows the storm is often the loudest truth.